Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu pakhair agale ni hao chunashume washmale. Ohai gonzaimes guten morgen. Hola, bonjour, privet, kaifa hal? Halishuma chatore. Ahlan wa sahlan marhaba. Buna mucho gracias. Swabia balli kare aya. Hoş geldin ayo sayo. Khuya morachi vatto chi hal jod kali mera khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. First of all, first things first, Ramadan Mubarak. Ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be Shehzad Khan, and with me, I'm really lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra Satti. It's a fine, rainy, cold morning over here in Islamabad, but let me ask my wonderful colleague how she's doing today. So, hello Hajra, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, Ramazan Mubarak to you and everyone who's observing the fast, to the entire Muslim community, to the entire Muslim Ummah. And certainly we were commuting from a home to the workplace, and Islamabad was receiving the rainfall, and I think the thirst of the land has been satiated because of these intense rainfall that we have received, and they have ended the dry wind spell, or rather weather spell that has continued across the country. So various parts of the country have been receiving the rain and snow since the last night, and we have witnessed a strong thunder showers, following which temperature has fallen considerably, bringing back the chill in the weather. The Met Office has predicted more rain and thunderstorm accompanied by snowfall over hilly areas throughout the day. Tourists and travelers visiting mountainous regions are advised to remain cautious during that period. And Ahmedabad has been receiving intermittent rain since last night, while snowfall is continuing in Nathia Gali, Ayubia and Tanyani. Due to the snowfall, communication system has been disrupted in Galayat and Tanyani, while the road leading to this circle, Bakot, remain closed. And we're witnessing this rainfall, and I think this is the second rosa that we are observing. So, alhamdulillah, because of the very pleasant weather, because few days back when it was not raining, so we were transitioning into the spring, but now once again we have entered into the last winter spells, but alhamdulillah, the rosa has been going very fine because of the very amazing weather that we are witnessing in Islamabad. And we've also seen that lots of the spring flowers have started sprouting up across the city, and it is one of the most beautiful season to observe Islamabad.
Yeah, and Hajra, not just that. Imagine that after there's a heavy downpour over here in Islamabad, what happens is that that obviously the dust settles down, and then you see a very washed Islamabad, and that's and that's exactly something which is a treat to watch. So for anyone and everybody who's actually out there, if you can take out time to to kind of come and drive around Islamabad, I think you'll have a fascinating rosa. But not just that, I think because it's our first program, and on the 2nd of Ramadan, if we are to kind of talk about our morning transmission. So we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well, that you're all sad, that that there'll be time for you to self-reflect on your metaphysical existence will actually kind of heal and is going to get better as well. So I think take advantage of this opportunity, because today the topic that we have picked up is something really amazing, and I would want Hajra to kind of take the lead, because she actually decided that this is something that we should discuss tomorrow. So Hajra, please take us through.
Absolutely, and I think the important point that we need to discuss in that, in the starting of the Ramadan, is the concept of the Tawhid. And Tawhid is a concept that has been preached by Nabi Adam down to the Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Tawhid means oneness of Allah Ta'ala. And what does that mean in the actual manifestation? That you make sure and you are very cognizant of the presence of Allah Ta'ala in your every sphere, in your every existence. As I mentioned, your metaphysical existence, obviously there is a very fine reality out of our physical existence. So what does that mean? And I do feel that nowadays we have somehow been oblivious to this concept of the Tawheed, because when you are aware of this fact that Allah Ta'ala is watching you, He has your back, He is Al-Hafiz, He is protecting you, you are going to be brave, and you are not going to bow down any false deities or false idols that in the modern age that we have resurrected, be it the greed, be it this fear that if we are going to say the truth, we are going to be taken to the task, something like that. But if you have this concept of the Tawheed, you are not going to be fearful. And I think at the intersection of that is the concept of the Taqwa, that is as beautiful as the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala itself, because Taqwa means you are going to judge the standard of someone's existence because of his piety, lineage, race, ethnicity, nationalism or gender. All of these false constructs that we have created as a human beings just takes a secondary position, because Taqwa reigns the supreme. And it was that Taqwa that made Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell us this hadith, this anecdote that he heard the footsteps of Hazrat Bilal Habshi Razila Ta'ala Anhu before him in the Jannah, and it was not because of Hazrat Bilal's lineage, because he was a slave, he was in the bonded slavery. It was not because of his color, because he was black. It was because of his taqwa, and that was the beauty of his azan. That at one point of the time when he did not give that azan of the Fajr, sun did not rise.
Yeah.
This was the status of Hazrat Bilal Habshi Razila Ta'ala Anhu, and that was because of his taqwa. So in the modern age, how do we need to incorporate all of these things into our lives and explain that at the intersection of the Tawheed? We are very glad that we have been joined by our very favorite religious scholars, who also happens to be an academician. He happens to be Professor Dr. Aslam KHAKI. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for inviting.
Sir, Ramazan Mubarak, thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. And certainly, you know, the way that you've dressed up today, you look very dapper, you look very amazing, and it tells us that it's cold in Islamabad.
Yeah.
And you're greeting Ramadan with your, full enthusiasm. But sir, let's delve into this conversation. Tawheed, I think Allama Iqbal did a wonderful job in his reconstruction of Islamic political thought. He had laid down the principle of what is Tawheed. Imam Ali in his various lectures explained that. Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam explained that. And I want you to please connect with the younger generation out there. What is the concept of Tawheed, the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, Allah being Ahad? What does that mean?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The concept and idea of Tawheed is the most fundamental idea and belief in all the divine religions. Even if you see the 10 Commandments, you will see the first command is unity, belief in unity of Allah. Don't worship except one. That is also. And you can frankly understand where we just connect the two things, Tawheed and Taqwa as well, is the last sermon of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he described as the first paragraph of the command was that لا فضل لعربي على العجمي ولا لعجمي على العربي ولا لأحمر على الأسود إلى الآخر, that there is no superiority of Arab over the non-Arab, of the black over the white, and of the white over the black. So except on the basis of taqwa. This is the taqwa, then we will describe it. So here the Tawheed, it is that all the human beings are equal. Tawheed, and again the superiority or the preference would be on the basis of taqwa. Here we connect the Tawheed and the taqwa. So if you see that this is the fundamental, and in all the religions we find, divine religion, I just own it, that there is the basic concept of Tawheed. So just even if you see our constitution, Article 25 of the constitution provides as a fundamental right, one of the fundamental rights for the citizen, that all the citizens would be treated equally.
Absolutely.
So this equality is the merit for all the dealings of the state with the citizen, even of Allah Almighty with the people, and he just asks the people, expects the people that they should also treat themselves in interrelation with equality.
But Professor, I think you brought a very interesting point, very important point, and also that equality that should reign supreme. And in Islam, taqwa is certainly the moral, the standard, the barometer through which we have to judge other person, or I would say that rather Allah has this right to judge other people, right? But I think the first racist that came in Islamic history, we know that was Iblis, and he said that I'm not going to bow before the Adam because he is made from the soil and I'm superior in my creation. I am born from the fire, right? He was a jinn. Why do you think that spirit of Iblis still reigns supreme in the form of the racism we see in our society, we see in the Western world, despite the divine injunctions breaking that racist ideology?
So, this is what we say, is that these are our wishes, as Quran says, that أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُهُ هَوَاهُ هَوَاهُ إِلَهُ. Did you see a person who has taken his wishes as his God? So here we say that we just break the unity or the Tawheed when we just put our wishes at the priority. So this our wishes, I wish that I should be superior without doing a good deed, I should be superior in all the things. So it is the lack of the belief in the Tawheed, I would say. This is what that Islam has come to just humanize the people, which I say that neither the Holy Christ came to Christianize the people, nor the Holy Prophet Muhammad came to Muhammedanize the people. Both came to humanize the people. so that this society should become a human society where all the people are treated as a human.
True.
Then it is upon their efforts and good character. We are going through this Mah Ramzan, and you say that Kutiba alaykum siyamu kama kutiba ala allazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. So the purpose of all these Ramadan, and it was also made obligatory for all the other ummah before us, and such so that you should become or gain taqwa, you should become a muttaqi. Again, you say, La yanalullah luhumuha wala dima'uha walaki yanaluhu taqwa, that does, or you are in slaughtering or in qurbani, it is the taqwa which reaches Allah Almighty.
Exactly. And sir, in addition to this, because while we were preparing, and there's obviously, it's very challenging for me because I do know Hajra research is quite a lot, so I really need to kind of contribute. So while I was listening to it, so there was this one very popular and famous incident of Maula Ali alayhi salam. It was that he saw a couple of people, performing their namaz and ibadah in the mosque, regularly without any intervals for 3 or 4 long days. And he asked somebody, who are these people? And they said that, the aapke chane wale, they're in love with you. He was like, so don't they have any families? Don't they have any buzurg at home? Don't they have any, work to do? How do they actually run their own livelihood? And they said, no, sir, if somebody comes, give them something, they will eat it, and that's it for them. And so he was like, they're worse than the dogs of Kufa, unfortunately, because, that's not what Taqwa and Tawhid actually tells us, So how do you think that if we are to kind of, unfold this intersectionality of how people just devote themselves, कि जी हम सिर्फ अब अल्लाह के ही हो गए, ना घर का पता, ना नफ़के का, ना बच्चे का, nothing, so, and they're like, we just in the way of Allah. How do you think that Allah actually, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that we really need to make sure that, that there's modesty in our life, that the way that we wear clothes, that we look around people, that the way that we look after our neighbors. How do we take
balance in the life, right?
balance in the life.
Right.
The similar event which is reported by the Hazrat Ali is also reported by for the Hazrat Umar. He came to the mosque and saw the people, that the people are just reciting zikr and all that. So he asked them that, how would you get your livelihood? How would you get your rizq? They said, Allahu yarzukuna kama huwa yarzuku tuyur. That God will give us the rizq as He gives it to the tuyur, that is to the birds. Then the Umar said to them, then waqdu fi sabahi katuyur wa ta'alu fil masai katuyur. That you should just fly like the birds in the morning and come back after that. So he said that even the birds, they work hard, they go for in search of the order. So it is the 2 parallel events. And the one event which Hajra has reported of Bilal Habshi, that he just negation of color, race and all that, but she forgot a woman which was in her name even, Hazrat Hajra, Hajir. So there is a comparison of Sarah and Hajir. That Sarah was beautiful, long and belonging to a very noble family, and Hajra was otherwise. She was not like that, she was black and that. But because she adopted the taqwa means that she surrendered before the command of Allah Almighty, she was given a high status. And that's why when we go, and Quran says that you should also go the tawaf of this, inna safa wal marwata min sha'airillah. Run before, between the sa'i, do the sa'i. So this is the blessing of Allah and the reward for
sir, in modern day it has become really difficult. I mean, obviously it shouldn't be difficult, first of all. Don't take me wrong, for everybody who's actually out there as well. But what happens is where Hajra actually in the opening mentioned that you will be taken to task. Whatever I'm saying, if you don't do that, even if you know. See, it's not that we do not have that
price to pay.
If we do not, it's not that we do not have that consciousness to understand that Allah is watching. We know it every time. Alhamdulillah, shukr, alhamdulillah. Even if there's something that I'm doing wrong, I do know for a fact that Allah is watching, and Shehzad, this is not right? But at times we are doing things to please people rather than pleasing our Allah Almighty. And may it be your work, may it be you doing businesses, may it be doing, out there in the practical world, it has become so harsh these days to be one of those people where you actually truly kind of fall in the sphere of taqwa and tawheed.
Yeah, then there are 2 aspects of it. One is,
and does Islam actually allow us to kind of, mend things if your business is not right, kisi ko kuch paise lagane pad gaye, does that, can we do that?
No, we can just understand it as we were that understanding the spirit of taqwa, that is just you should feel yourself accountable in each and every walk of life. As Quran says, "Wazkurullaha qiyaman wa qu'udan." So it doesn't mean that you should only recite the zikr. So zikr means you should keep in your mind that Allah is watching me. As we just go through CCTV in the traffic, we see that there is a camera. We just put our speed normal, but when we see it's not, we just give the speed of 120.
Yeah.
So it is that we are just, we don't. One of my friends used to say that we don't have the belief in God up to the doubt, yani shakkul yaqeen. We don't have shakkul yaqeen. If we have a even doubt that if I am doing some theft, the police may come.
Yeah.
If you see that the police station or somebody, we don't do it. So we have not even the level of shak in the accountability that God is watching us.
And that's exactly which I wanted to settle down for myself. Now imagine, sir, there's so many things, you know, maybe workplace, maybe when you're out, when you're doing something, what happens is that, you know, so there's a state as well, you know, over here, you know, there's a state which actually looks after all the affairs as well. So do you think that not abiding by the state, but abiding by Allah Almighty, you know, how does that balance fit in? Because imagine state might want me to do things certain way, but I might find it easier to do it in another way, or the way that I would actually want to do.
And I think Shehzad brought a very important point, because if you see the modern liberal system which is dominating, they take the state as a supreme entity, but in Islam, Allah is the supreme entity, state is, you know, below that. How do you think we need to balance this conflict?
And just very quickly to finish it up, for example, a few people that, because I advocate that people really need to pay taxes, they'll be like, yaar, hum sadqa zakat karte hain, to pata nahi hum tax de sakte ya nahi de sakte, which obviously is a wrong notion, but please your take.
Yeah, if you read Quran, there is Atiyullah wa Atiyur Rasula wa ulil amri minkum. Obey Allah, obey the Prophet, and the people who are in authority amongst you. Your citizen, for the citizen, government is the authority. So for the students, teacher is the authority. So obeying the authority is the supreme, subject to its being the within the limits of Allah Almighty. So it is the order. When I am obeying the state law, I'm obeying Allah's command as well, because Allah has commanded ulil amri minkum. So there are three sources: Allah Almighty, Sunnah, and then the government. So we should also abide by the role of the government,
So the
and
government
should
should
pay the
be
taxes.
of an Islamic country or the government of any country?
No, any country.
Okay.
Because ulil amr is a general. If you are there, so because somebody has written, and I also writing a thesis on that, that how to live in the Muslim, how to live in the non-Muslim societies. In Birmingham University also delivered. We should abide by, as we expect those people who are foreigner here or non-Muslim here, that they should abide our law and our state law.
And very sorry to say this, sir, but you know, because for all of those countries that I have visited are welfare states, they look after their people so well, you know, their treatment's free, their education's free, you know, there's so many facilities that the governments provide them, and inshallah in days to come we'll see it over here as well. But thank you so much, Professor Dr. Aslam KHAKI Sahab, for being with us. You look amazing today, alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
And
That's your
stay blessed,
reflection.
and we would certainly want you to kind of be a regular visitor on our show.
Right,
But
right.
for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, you know, the ICC Champions Trophy is still going on. Even if Pakistan's not playing, we're still hosting it. So, Hajra, why don't you take us
I
through
think
now?
Shehzad is really, Dil Bardasht. I don't know how to translate it into a better English, because Pakistan
I stopped
lost.
looking at ICC Champions Trophy these days.
Yeah, he was telling me, because he's such a, you know, cricket junkie and is constantly following cricket news and super invested in. But anyways, India has beaten New Zealand in the ICC Champions Trophy 2025 by 44 runs in the last group match of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. PTV Sports HT is telecasting the match live. And the coach has also said one of the South African cricket team that our focus is on the semi-finals. Marco Jensen, fast bowler, has stated that the team is playing really well overall. While holding the news conference in Karachi, Jensen mentioned that their bowling performance against England was excellent, which contributed significantly to their success. He added that their goal is to play with a positive mindset, and having played in Dubai before, the team has a good understanding of the conditions. Johnson emphasized that their current focus is on winning the semi-finals. And we hope and pray that the best team wins, because our team is already out of the tournament, and that too on their home soil, hometown. But I think there's some interesting news in that too regarding the field of
Exactly,
football.
which is why, you know, from cricket, I'll be transitioning to football now, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
because FIFA has officially lifted the suspension on the Pakistan Football Federation following the approval of constitutional amendments by the PFF Congress. This decision allows Pakistan's national football team to once again participate in international competitions, ending a period of execution from global events. This marks a positive development for the sports in the country. Wow, not just that. I think I've got something other than that related to World Wildlife Day,
And
you know,
that's
because it's really important. So, Hajra, go ahead, take us through.
Right. So we are observing the World Wildlife Day, and we cannot deny the significance of the World Wildlife Day because of in the wake of the climate change, in the wake of this entire happening that is happening around the world. We've seen that how it is significantly impacted, and I think one of the concerning thing is how the diversity of the animal species has significantly shrunk. That too by the 70%.
Which is why on December 20th, Hajra, 2013, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed March 3rd as World Wildlife Day to raise awareness of the world's wild fauna and flora. The date is the day of the adoption of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora in 1973, which plays an important role in ensuring that international trade does not threaten the species' survival.
Right, and Shehzad, I think we have significantly faced this conundrum, and that is that how there's generally a distrust, disinterest, and a decline on watching the news, right? News consumption, and we've seen that a lot of people have tuned away from the broadcast media, and they have tuned into the social media, and they are consuming the news of their own liking, and that means that the once a very booming news industry of the journalism, of the news production is facing such a existential crisis. So why is there disinterest? Why is there a disconnect? And how can journalism industry make sure that it survives in such a challenging
And
time?
there are two reasons which I can think of. Now,
Sure.
imagine that just yesterday I was sitting down with my brother-in-law. I was like, let's tune into New Zealand versus India match.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, you know what, I do not have a cable connection. I was like, why don't you have a cable connection? He was like, I just watch Netflix or Amazon and that's it. So one, I was like, okay, now people are not actually interested. They just want to live by whatever, you know, they're doing in their lives. Number two was that probably, you know, now cell phones is actually a medium where we rely for
Absolutely.
news on.
Absolutely.
And, you know, there's so many people, YouTubers out there as well. And for me, you know, who's actually met so many journalists, is friends with so many journalists, I at times even think, I don't know whether I should trust the news or not. You know, so I'm being honest, it's Ramadan, I think it's best that I give my best
Absolutely,
as well.
and I think this is the topic of our news, that the distrust in the news media. And why is that? So without any further ado, we are very glad that we have been joined by a senior journalist who also happens to be an author. She happens to be Miss NUZAIRA AZAM. Assalamu alaikum, NUZAIRA Sajan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much, madam.
Right, so Miss NUZAIRA, if you have heard the introduction, there is a general disinterest, there is a disconnect, and
Yes.
distrust. Why is it? What are we doing wrong in the journalism industry that is contributing
Well,
to
you know, I think it's not realistic to, you know, give a blanket statement
Yeah,
because journalism, it's a huge industry.
true, it is.
And there are some good and you know, well equipped people also. There are nice media houses also. We never talk about
True.
it.
Like,
We
for
only-
example?
I can give you
Sure,
example.
Sure.
But we always, because they have become sidelined because of the other media, you know, different kind of their shows which have more voice than them. Shouting.
See, madam, thank you so much for raising this point. Now, imagine that for anybody to not have that capacity where they can actually sideline all of those other big giants, I do believe that it's their incapacity to do their job. So I think for us to kind of say that, that there are those media houses who want to give the right news, but they're not being watched by people, kind of highlights a red flag for me that they're still not able to do it,
You know,
right?
lots of people, they like PTV. They want to watch PTV instead of other private channels. There's a Dawn TV, Dawn newspaper,
Yeah.
two I know.
Yeah.
And they are very, you know, since they have only 2 or 3, maybe there are more, but there are some news,
People trying to do their best.
they do,
Okay.
they do it.
And why do you think there's a disconnect?
And I don't think so I'm giving a blanket statement because I am, projecting a research that was done at the Reuters Institute of the Oxford Studies, and they've mentioned that how there's generally a distrust and a lot of people have tuned into the social media instead of consuming the news. And one of the reasons they pointed out is that whenever you switch on the news, it's all very gloomy. There's a gloom and doom that is predicted, all of the negative news that is coming in, and people are generally not, they just want to cut out any of the negativity, and that is why, you will feel that people are just, going away, and there are a lot of journalism houses that are either on the brink of shutting down, or, they are facing this existential crisis of how to survive in this environment. How do you think they've contributed to this entire situation?
I think that, the journalist, if we talk in context of Pakistan, not the whole world, but if we go back and see a little bit that the whole in the whole world, if you know that there are the media is controlled either by governments or by politicians or by interest groups.
True.
Absolutely.
So we have that in our country also. And then the second thing is that we do not have training, education of journalists. If you go to Islamabad Press Club, there are more than 3,000 journalists. Where did they come from? Nobody knows.
Most
What
of
is
the
their
time, the only thing I see
contribution?
them doing is playing badminton.
Yeah.
But they're protesting,
what's their
sorry, but
contribution
Yeah.
and which newspaper or which media they represent? They do represent some media, of course.
Everybody's got a card medal है media से. भाई कौन सी media से हो?
Exactly. No, but I don't know why there isn't anybody who can control it to, to see.
Because I think people are too scared now. Because imagine that, I'm sorry, but I have to share this as well. So for the very first time when I started to work for one of the largest satellite networks over here in Pakistan, and I got a card, I felt like as if, now nobody can stop me. And, probably, at a few pickets, of police, everywhere, where unnecessarily they'll stop you to check your car and whatnot, random checks. I'll show my card and be like, sir, assalamu alaikum, sir, jai, sir. So, even till now, we have not been able to figure it out that, okay, if somebody's from media, if somebody's a lawyer, they really need to be an law-abiding citizen. They can never be above the law. And that's exactly what the media houses have taken advantage of as well. Don't you agree?
Yeah, to some extent, but it's not only media houses.
Yeah, obviously. But since that's what our topic is today, that's why I'm just, kind of referring to that.
I have some sympathy for media.
Of course, because we belong to the same fraternity, but I think let's focus our attention on the new medium.
No, you know what's going on here in Pakistan, which I have observed since last few years. I come every year and I talk to people. I go to newspapers or channels, talk to my friends, my colleagues, who are now on a bigger positions.
Status,
Yes. So I have observed that the media is being navigated by the advertisement.
It has always been the case, madam.
Yeah, but not to that extent.
It was
Now
always corporate
even the
control media.
newspapers are half. The first page is half is with the
real estate
newspaper.
advertisements, this advertisement, iska show itne baje lagega advertisement.
Bilkul.
Right, but I think there is essential need that we also need to focus on the new media, that is social media, right? And I think because of this distrust, and I think the editorial filter has almost been eliminated, right? People are just consuming news from the social media. Anyone can type anything and it can go, because of the element of the virality in the social media, anything can go and you don't know if it's true or not, right? And if the damage has been checked, I mean, if you are even putting the rebuttal out there, it is not going to garner that much, views as the, false information or disinformation, misinformation do. How do you think we journalists need to deal with this situation of the social media element of the virality?
You can use social media in your favor also, but you have to be very careful. A curious mind and a listening ear. These two things journalists need to have it.
True.
Whether if you get stories on the road, not on the social media.
True.
Social media is just for fun, maybe.
True.
So if you listen to the stories, it's a journalist who have an insight. he or she will bring up something that makes that small news a hot news.
Exactly.
Uh,
And
you
it's
know,
not just an insight, it's somebody on the inside as well. Because that's how, because it's been so long that I've been actually affiliated with the sports journalism, and it's always, if you want to get a story out, there needs to be someone on the inside. And obviously, as a journalist, you really need to have those values to yourself where you never give out the name. But in addition to this, where my very well-learned co-host actually spoke about social media, now imagine that we have seen a lot of global political figures using social media to their advantage. And that's exactly what actually creates now a lot of distrust as well. Because imagine that not even social media, not even conventional journalistic places are actually safe from influence. Now, how do you think that anyone who's out there can actually be or make sure that that their media house or their agency is actually out of influence of anyone else, because that's how we will actually come to a point where the news is authentic, where the stories are authentic. क्योंकि अभी तो आप खबर अखबार से भी पढ़ लो तो आप नहीं कह सकते कि ये सच है.
उसकी वजह, the reason, what's the reason is that we don't have now the editorial, the institution of editorial has been crumbled down.
True.
When there were editors, editorials, editorial staff, they always keep a very hard check on every news, every word, every sentence. So since that has happened, things have changed.
Right, and I think that is why there's an essential need that we need to have those editorial policies in place. But again, they're also contributing towards the problem, but because of these strict editorial policies, those strict filters, we are witnessing such a mushrooming growth of the social media, and people are tuning away. So it's both a double-edged sword. But thank you so much, Ms. NUZAIRA, for being here, for highlighting some of the problems that we face in the news of the world of journalism, in the journalist broadcast industry. And inshallah ta'ala, I think with the days to come, we will see that how this industry will evolve to suit their needs or to face that or ward off this existential crisis.
But हम सच बोल रहे हैं. ये बात, to the best of our knowledge, we are always making sure that we say the truth.
We try to, inshallah ta'ala. And so there is very interesting news, and that is a rare video captured superpod of more than 2,000 dolphins. So a rare footage of superpod comprising over 2,000 dolphins was captured off the Monterey Bay along the coast of the American state of California. The pod included the light gray baby calves, Pacific white-sided dolphins, and also more elusive northern right whale dolphin, which is found in the deeper waters. The video was made by the tour boat captain Ivan Brodsky. According to a marine biologist, Colleen Tetley, people came from the various parts of the world to see a northern right whale dolphin in the bay's deep underwater canyons. And I think this is one of the beautiful phenomena to observe, and I think the deep sea has plenty to offer in terms of the beauty, the vibrancy, and how Allah Ta'ala is al-Musawwir, the best of the creator.
Exactly, and what a wonderful sight it is, to kind of witness and just say Subhanallah as well. And while we are here, imagine that China space station to host Pakistani astronaut is something that I got my attention. A Pakistani astronaut will be the first foreigner to visit China's Tiangong space station, which is operated by China Manned Space Agency. The space authorities of both countries have signed a cooperation agreement in Islamabad in this regard. Wow.
Right, that's very interesting, and inshallah in the days to come we will also deliberate on that. But again, like we have mentioned in our starting, it is the Ramadan, and we have to be very mindful of not just our bodily needs but also of our ruh. But in order to cater the bodily needs, how to make sure that energy is conserved, because the weather is such like that we might not the need for a lot of thirst or the water. But again, we need to have a healthy consumption of the water in order to make sure that our bodily needs are also met. But again, the topic of this segment is eating for energy, foods that will help you power throughout your day. In order to deliberate on that, we are very glad we have been joined by the health and the fitness expert. She happens to be MARIYA Khan. Assalamu alaikum, MARIYA, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me here.
What happened to you today? Last time when you were here, your energy was top notch. Assalamu alaikum, MARIYA. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you guys doing? Ramazan Mubarak, everybody.
So how's your roza going on? And please tell us about, this topic, this very interesting topic, how to conserve your energy throughout the day.
So first of all, okay, so why do we even fast?
Yeah.
Let's start with
Sure,
that.
sure.
It is a cleanse, not just for the
It's
body.
obligatory, yeah.
It's obligatory,
Yeah.
but then okay, so
Rational
it is
reasons for
rational reasons. If I look back, the origin of fasting, it is not only obligatory for Muslims, but it has always been there ever since the start of times. It is with the Jews, with the Christians. Before that, with the Buddhists.
For all prophets.
For all prophets,
Yeah.
with the Buddhists,
Yep.
Buddhist also, right?
Yeah.
So if I look at that, if we are doing this for the religion purposes, for religious purposes, so it is for the cleanse of the body and the mind, right?
Yeah. And the soul.
And the soul. And if I look at the scientific part of it, so science, you know, they came up with this concept of intermittent fasting.
Absolutely.
And intermittent fasting is, they say there is evidence that science has been able to reverse even cancer
Yeah.
with the help of
And
intermittent
it eats
fasting.
your cancer cell, you know, so if you're
It does.
hungry, you know, it's going to eat your cancer cells, and
It
there are so
does.
many illnesses which you'll actually avoid by just fasting.
It does.
Interesting,
So it is a cleanse of not, so if I understand the real concept of it, so it's not just the cleanse of the mind, it is also the cleanse of the body.
Yeah.
So this is how we need to treat it.
Yeah.
So instead of this lavish iftars and
But
dinners
yeah, please, yeah, a
and
bit of
sahurs,
paratha in the morning, desi ghyo, desi ghyo
Yeah,
wali dal
and
zara halki
pie.
ji naal dahi ho jave,
right?
chini pagal kar kar aha, kya baat hai.
Yeah, and I was just talking to someone and they were complaining of heartburns. That oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I have these heartburns and I have this health issue and that health issue. Yes, no wonder when you are having all these meals, you are having this temporary fun, pleasure, but then after that, you have heartburns, you have stomach issues, and if you have prolonged stomach issues, that translate to your mental health issues. If you have good gut health, you have good mental health.
Exactly.
Because 95% of the serotonin, our happy hormone, is in our gut.
And I think you mentioned a very important point about the gut health, and I think Ramadan is one of the months that forces us to abstain from the gluttony, right? And we have seen that how damaging gluttony and running after every desire of yours, everything that you want to eat is, right? So whenever we talk about the gut health, right, please relate us to the foods that you feel are more beneficial for us in this weather, because it's not a very hot weather, it's not a very cold weather, it's
Yeah.
moderate sort
Yeah.
of a weather. We're not consuming that much of a water because we don't feel that much thirsty, right? So what sort of liquid drinks do you recommend?
So let's start with iftar. So
Yes.
use dates,
Okay.
use water,
Okay.
and right after that, take a bowl of fruits. Fruits are natural vitamin, minerals, fiber, and they are filled with water. If you
Yeah.
don't like consuming water straight, you know, so many people have they say, I don't like the taste of water. All right, eat 4 to 5 pieces of fruit.
Right,
And after that, go do your prayers and come back and have your proper meal. Like
What about pakoras? Oh my God, you're missing
Yeah.
such an important
Imagine,
meal.
you know, when I got back home after the iftar transmission, my sister actually saved me an ande wala pakoda. It was too yummy to eat. I cannot even tell you.
Such
and I
a
was like,
lovely
thank you,
sister.
Abdi, for keeping it safe for me. Because so many people, she actually kept one for me. She was like, ande wala khauga.
Wow, wow.
yeah,
But-
for the
but-
added protein, right?
Yeah, but where you actually spoke about, you know, fruits and all of these things, it's great, you know. So, and I do feel at times
Cleanse.
that, you know, for example, people use these terminology for being very fashionable. Oh, you know, I'm lactose intolerant. Thank God there's no term for, you know, that you're not water intolerant as well. You know, otherwise
Yeah,
people
thank
know, yaar,
goodness.
मुझे जूस पीना पड़ता है पानी तो मुझे हजम ही नहीं होता है खुदा का खौफ करो. You know, so how do
Exactly.
you think that we really need to kind of educate people on this?
The real education starts with you realizing that you're not having fun. You're not in. If you are eating all this unhealthy food, you are getting sick.
True.
And if you are sick, it's not fun. It's not a fun experience. You sitting, standing, sleeping is a problem. So wake up. There's no. This is the matrix. This is $1 billion industries sitting out there marketing all these.
And one of the most
Foods
popular
to you.
athletes actually spoke about it. And Mr. Shoaib Akhtar, you know, I think everybody knows, is the fastest bowler to actually step on this planet. He said that if by 40 years old, you cannot decide what you want to eat and what you shouldn't eat, that means that you're not really going to be a successful person in life.
Absolutely.
And I think he was so much on point, because imagine that with all of that excessive eating, there'll be hypertension, there'll be diabetes, there'll be so many other problems that rather than focusing on your life, you will be focusing on your well-being because you've gotten yourself into so much of trouble.
So true. you will be focusing on pain management, disease reversal, disease management, not so, and not 40. I think even like by 25, because starting 25 we are going through this downgrade
25 के बाद हमारी नौकरी लगती है तब तनख्वाह आती है अपनी मर्जी से कुछ खाने तो दो ना यार मतलब ऐसे इतनी ज्यादा भी जरूरी नहीं है but yeah please go on.
Yeah, so in my practice, so this is for me, it's like 16, 18, 20 hours a day every single day, and it starts with 7 years young kids to 70-year-old folks, and they have the same problem. Starts with stomach issues, gas, bloating. Prolonged all this junk will get you to constipation and diarrheal issues, and if that stays prolonged, it translates to stress, anxiety, and then fatty liver, heart diseases, all of that.
Imagine I went to get my liver checked up, you know, just like that, you know, because I always recommend people that we really need to kind of go for regular checkups. So I went for myself, did my checkup, everything was fine. This guy comes up to me, be like, you know, we need to do the ultrasound for your liver. I was like, sure, go ahead. And while the doctor's doing the, you know, ultrasound, I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I think you've got a fatty liver. And I was like, yeah, I've been on bed for 6 months because I got operated and I've been eating too much. She was like, yeah, but 80% of the population in Pakistan has got fatty liver. And I was like, my God, you know, so they do not even have these excuses to themselves that they were on the bed or got operated or whatnot.
Right. And I know you, like I have witnessed you. You have been so rigorous.
And you know, I was making a mistake. I was having protein shakes twice a day, and that too in milk. So imagine I went to the doctor. He was like, you know, your cholesterol is going to go up. Please make sure that you stop having milk. And I was like, okay, I'll stop having milk.
Yeah, true. So you have been so rigorous, like you have a regime for your fitness and your nutrition. I know you. But the fact that majority of the people, unfortunately, they don't have the concept of this. So you just mentioned that 80% of Pakistani population has fatty liver. More than 80% of women in Pakistan, there's this new research, they are low on they are deficient on vitamin D3, they are deficient on vitamin A, they are deficient on calcium.
And not just that, you know what research says? That exact research says that if there weren't multivitamins available for people, 70% of the women will actually be, you know, undernourished of those nutrients.
So all these undernourished women are giving birth. Yeah, the malnourished women are giving birth to malnourished kids.
True.
It's a whole generational
cycle, a vicious cycle. And
it's our country's problem.
So eat little, eat good, and be healthy.
Eat a lot.
Oh, but exercise.
Eat a lot, but eat healthy.
Yeah. And exercise.
And exercise.
And I think this is one of the very important points, and I think we need to save that debate for some other day because we are really short in time. That is how the element of mobility is almost eliminated from our lifestyles. So if you see, we are coming on the cars, we are going on the cars, there's no walk involved in that, and obviously there are some other problems related to the walking, especially for the women, and that is why we are witnessing such a decrease in their living standards, and I think we are not a very physically fit generation as compared to our ancestors. So what are we doing wrong in our lifestyles that needs, you know, very rigorous amendment? We will talk about it, but thank you so much, Mariya, for being on our
show.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much
for telling us and illuminating us about this fitness regime, and especially that too during the Ramadan, because Ramadan is the one that we are really, really, you know, heavy on the pakoras and samosas and the fried items.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cheese samosas these days are very amazing.
Oh, interesting.
Have one or two.
Does not look good.
Yeah, but have one or two, yeah. I mean, it's not that difficult, yeah. Have one or two exercise and whatnot, but please make sure that you write to us, you know, on our, and our email is worldthismorning@ptv.com.pk. These days we're juggling with 2 emails. You know, the Ramadan one is in from 4 p.m. So please make sure that for the iftar transmission, you tune in at 4 p.m. and we have some worthy guests to kind of speak about our religiosity, fitness, there'll be Naat Khwans, there'll be Quran recitation, there'll be Tarjuma of Quran. So please make sure that you stay tuned to PTV World. Until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning. Have a great day.
Good morning.